Hello, everybody out there in streaming land and video land and Skyping land or whatever way you're joining us. This is the National Poor People's Campaign Moral Monday March on McConnell to challenge his meanness, his mayhem, and the misery that he is calling. We're focused hard on McConnell We can't let him off, y'all. We cannot let McConnell off. He's been hiding too long. He's been in the back too long. But if we want to really deal with these issues, we have to recognize that what McConnell has done. In fact, in a moment, I'm going to actually give you the number of days, it's being calculated right now, that McConnell has blocked fixing the Voting Rights Act. And you want to talk about racism, but also McConnell is sitting on bills that would have provided living wages long before right now. He's sitting on bills that would have provided universal health care long before now. And listen, we learned something in the country. I'm gonna talk like I talk down home, that there's a dead cat on the line somewhere. That means somebody's not dealing right. All this distraction you house with people who are making can pay $335,000 a year to be at that golf club, applauding him cutting money for low-income people. That's distraction, y'all. All these executive orders, that's distraction. The driver's seat in all of this is McConnell. McConnell, the Senate leader. If he wanted, in the first 3 bills, he could have made sure that people had health care, they had sick leave, they had unemployment, they had said he wanted the money to go to corporations. So what happened? 83% of all the money went to corporations and not to the people who were struggling. 3 bills, 83% to corporations. He agreed to a few things, but the majority of that money. When the Fed chief gave $1.5 trillion to corporations without even going through Congress, just did it one night over a 48-hour period. If he hadn't talked to McConnell, that could have never happened. If that had been a Democratic a Fed chief or president, there would have been all kinds of stuff raised by the Senate. But McConnell said that. Why? Because while we were looking at that, while he was doing that, we were looking at Trump, and while Trump was doing his antics, we were also being misguided, because what was McConnell doing? Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. Say that with me. Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. Say that with me. Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. That's what he's been doing. That's what he's been doing. And now in the midst of this, we need a 4th bill. And what did he say? Until I can guarantee that corporations that sent people in lethal, but this is what he, in essence, was doing. He said, I want translation from the street. That means if somebody died because the corporation didn't do what they were supposed to do, didn't protect them, they got sick, they weren't protected, he wants the people not to be able to sue them in court. I don't even know if he could do that legislatively without the courts challenging it. But the fact is that he would say that out front to the media. To the media. And now what do we have? From over 80 days, the bill. And it wasn't even a bill that the Poor People's Campaign fully wanted. We see, first of all, even the bill that the House passed is compromised. Don't get fooled by this language. The bill is already a compromised bill. And if we don't do at least this $3.5 trillion, we'll be right back here in November, right back here in December. But McConnell has been holding it up. Then Trump tries to stick in, do an end run, act like he's doing something. McConnell is the one. For all these days, he could have passed. We could have the $600. We could have the stimulus. We could have the minimal things, the compromise things. And even the $600, remember what he suggested? $600, they're not going to be going to work. That's a racist thing. People and poor people are just lazy anyway, and brown people are lazy anyway. If you give them too much unemployment, they'll stay home and will not work. That's old game. That's old game, you all. There's nothing new to this. But it's also ugly in the midst of holding out. People don't want to go to work because they're not being protected. They don't have the PPEs. And if he had pushed for that, and because they've not given us. Let's not be fooled. McConnell is at the center of all of this misery, this mayhem, and his meanness. It's just outright meanness. And so we want you to call everybody you know, text everybody you know, tweet everybody you know. Last week, 165,000 of you came on to try to call. We put in so many calls in 45 minutes, over 8,000 calls, that it shut down everything he had. Somebody said, well, they're not in the Senate today, but his office is there, and his office in Kentucky is there. And guess what? He'll know that we called in. So we need you to get people online. It's going to be right on the screen. And it'll do everything you need to do to call in, or you can go. I hope I get this right, Rob. The Poor People's Fashion Sit-In with a new Jack City twist. It's called National Moral Monday on McConnell. That's Dr. Y'all get ready to send them to Alvin Jackson. He is the executive director of the Mass Poor People's Assembly. Barber on Washington, D.C. But to be quite honest, this is serious business. I'm laughing because when I laugh, actually when I'm mad and I start laughing, you really need to be careful. No, I'm not talking, but when I kind of start chuckling and I'm upset, I'm really about ticked off at you. And I really am ticked off to think about all the in his own state. And we got some people from Kentucky that's going to talk about in his own state and what he's doing from Kentucky to hurt people all over the nation. But before we get into that, we want you again to look on that screen, because we need to be letting people know, telling them to tune in. We'll just be here an hour and a half, but the calls will keep on and keep on and keep on. But we're going to be here about an hour and a half. Let people know it's time for National Moral Monday on McConnell to call in and digitally sit in to challenge his meanness, his mayhem, and his misery, and to tell everybody on. Somebody said, well, are you going to tell us not to vote for him? I'm just going to tell him what you're doing. I'm going to tell him what he's doing. We're going to tell what he's doing. And you have to make your decision. And I know you got real good sense if you really know what's going on. But before that, we always want to highlight the people who are being hurt. And so we got a video for you. It's real, y'all. Sometimes it'll make you want to cry, but most of all, it'll make you want to fight. It'll make you want to drop that video if you can right now. We'll be back at you in a minute.
I worked 41 years in the coal mines. I have black lung, and it's just unfathomable what these poor coal miners have to go through in order to get what they have worked for and deserve.
At one time, poverty was a temporary condition. You were on a down slope for a minute, but you could bounce back up. We can't going back to the factory and building cars and trucks like we once did.
A job working at McDonald's or the grocery store doesn't pay enough for one person to live.
We work a 40-hour work week, still not enough. Living from paycheck to paycheck. Rent is $600 a month. We got water bill, electricity. I do this for my kids, and it hurts.
I'm 46 years old. I've lived in poverty here in West Virginia every day of my life. And I'm working. I am working poor with a bachelor's degree. I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
We were in the height of mass water shutoffs. This entire neighborhood was shut off all at one time.
I saw all my neighbors get shut off right in front of me. It was kind of terrifying.
I'm 42 years old, and I'm a cashier at McDonald's. I had lost my house. You're welcome to come inside. There's a lot of people that are living in their cars. You never notice until you're in the same situation.
I have stuff to give my children. I'm paying all these bills, and they need school clothes and stuff. And they be asking me for, I can't give it to them.
Now I'm a Kansas farmer's wife. Kansas farmers are committing suicide. Why? They're usually in debt up to their eyeballs.
I see poverty in my own community. You know, there's a 70% unemployment rate in the reservation right now.
Here in New York City, we're home to millionaires and billionaires, and we have so many people living in the street, and that's just not right.
I've been a homeless veteran twice, lived in a shelter.
I've been living down here since I was 17.
My only chance of going to college was joining the Army.
We are demanding that we stop the war on our poor.
700,000 people in this country are on the verge of losing their food stamps.
This budget calls for shrinking the social safety net programs like Medicare.
I just know that everything that's happening to us isn't right.
I'm in stage 5 of kidney disease. I fell behind on my health care, and they canceled my health insurance, and they told me I have to wait until open enrollment. There's only 5 stages of kidney disease, and I'm in the 5th stage. Murder, it's murder. You know, if you ask me, it's murder.
I lost a son to gun violence, and I lost a daughter.
No parent should have, in America, should have to bury their child for lack of medical expense. I'm wailing because my children.
My God, Kevin.
I'm wailing, y'all. Wailing. Cause my babies ain't no more. How many more babies? How many more children? No more.
And who work. Surely the rest of us should be standing with them and fighting back. You know, that's mayhem and meanness and madness caused by policy. That's not, what you saw is not inevitable pain. Campaign.org, and it'll pop right up. Call your neighbors, tweet your neighbors, email them, Instagram them, do whatever you have to do, but let's send thousands upon thousands upon thousands of.
Thank you, Reverend Barber. We're having some trouble with your audio. So, Reverend Liz, we're going to bring you on as we try to workshop that.
To everyone for joining us. The power.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, does that mean that? Okay, I want you to come on and just share where you said maybe talk some even about this powerful report we showed up, and then I know we're a little bit behind time, so this is to you right now.
Right, yeah. So it's good to have folk here, and I wanted to start with some words from Jeremiah 22. This is what the Lord says. Do what is just and right. Rescue from the hand of the oppressor the one who has been robbed. Do no wrong or violence to the immigrant, the homeless, the children or mothers, and do not shed innocent blood in this place. As Reverend Barber was talking about, if we read the headlines from the past few days, here in the richest nation in human history, yet because of the misleadership of this nation, led by Senator McConnell, taking a pause from passing a stimulus package that would extend unemployment benefits, refusing to expand health care in a public health crisis, threatening Social Security and other programs of social uplift, and trying to reopen schools, putting the lives of our children in danger just to bolster corporate profits and the wealthy. Now, there are 100,000 children sick with COVID. Our economy has shrunk by 1/3 in 4 months, the biggest drop in U.S. history that will lead to homelessness and poverty hardship, while billionaires in that same time have made $600 billion. Jeremiah said to stop the violence, to do no wrong to the poor. But 100,000 kids sick is shedding innocent blood. Failing to stop evictions and extend unemployment is surely doing wrong. This administration's response to this pandemic, to the pandemics of racism and poverty that predated COVID, is violence. And so indeed, as you were saying, Reverend Barber, we are putting out a powerful study that says that poor people when we come together around an agenda for healthcare, an agenda for living wages, an agenda for quality education, an agenda that put the poor and the homeless and the children and the marginalized at the front of our nation's priorities, we are able to change this entire nation's political landscape. That poor and low-income people have a power, and we're flexing that muscle today as we call McConnell's offices, and we're flexing that muscle as we organize and mobilize and register and educate people for a movement that votes. And so we do have a lot of people to listen to, folks that are on the front lines of this crisis, who are fighting and pushing and shifting this narrative and building power so that we can enact the agenda that we know can be done. Poverty can end. Racism can be history. We can save this earth, stop all of these weather disasters, and we could have a peace economy, not this war economy, and not a militarized communities to community. But we must come together, unite with teachers and low-wage workers and nurses and people of all walks of life. And that's what we're doing in the Poor People's Campaign. That's what we're doing on this Moral Monday. And that's what we'll do as we move into November. And so it's great to be here. People better call in. We got to make our voices heard. And we must always, in the words of the Forward Together Moral Mondays movement out of North Carolina, move forward together and not one step back.
And that's all right, Liz, and we can do these things, but it has to be a matter of public policy, and you have to challenge those who have the power. We're going to talk about that power that a Senate Majority Leader has, and he can't just escape. He can't just get along and go along like nothing's going on. And so we're calling today to say, yeah, those things can happen. He has to change, either his position or change in other ways. But we cannot be silent on these matters. We cannot let this man hold hostage, because he's holding hostage right now an already compromised bill called the Heroes Bill. Teachers are suffering, municipalities are suffering. We got 30 million people in unemployment that are suffering. They're not getting that basic $600 extra. We have 27 million more people added to the already 87 million people uninsured and underinsured. Millions, I'm talking about in the tens of millions of people who are hungry and food insecure. Upwards of 40 million people face eviction. It's too much power for just one man to be able to block all of those bills and hold those things from happening. And then, but you know what he wants, Liz. Now the man said, look, but this is what he wants. He wants another $200+ billion tax cut. He wants to make sure that companies have liability and they can't, are protected from liability. He wants another $20-some billion, almost $30 billion for the military they haven't even asked for. And he knows that already the greedy and the wealthy have made over $755 billion during the pandemic and growing. And so that's why on this Moral Monday, National Moral Monday March on McConnell, we're calling you to sit in by calling in. Sit in by calling in, and to tell everybody you know to call in. And in a moment, Rob, I want you to tell me how many people are on. I'm going to ask for it in a minute. Before we go there, let me tell you who is on. We're going to talk for a moment to Jamie Jenkins, and we're going to talk to Jamie. He's from Kentucky. We also got Pam, our national, one of our co-tri-chairs in Kentucky is on, and Tanya is also on. You know, they're on the cheerleading section, just in case. Well, I shouldn't say the cheerleading section. What they're on is the fighting section. They, you know, you tag and say you're it. They'll come in and continue the battle. But we're going to hear from Jamie. Then we're going to hear from Leslie Jones, who's in Georgia trying to raise grandchildren. She has a pre-K granddaughter who has leukemia and 2 older children who are now supposed to go back to school. And she's scared for their health and for her own. And she's going to tell us the truth from that perspective. And that you need to hear it. And it needs to make you move, because she needs you to jam McConnell and say, stop this foolishness, and let's do what's right by all the people. Then we're going to have our dear sister warrior, Randy Weingart. But before we get there, Jamie, you right there in Kentucky. You know what's going on in Kentucky. You know, I heard some people say, you know, of course, you can get it anywhere like Fox News or something. They say McConnell's great for Kentucky. They say McConnell's doing a great job, that he's really helping people, and he should be fighting what he's fighting for, more money to corporations. But what do you say, Jamie? What do you say, Brother Jenkins, to people all over this country? Is Jamie on? While we're waiting to get him, Pam, what do you say? I see while Jamie is coming on. And Jamie, when you come on, just say I'm on. Pam, talk to us about this senator from Kentucky. Should we be doing what we're doing today? You've been out here a while. I'm not going to call your age, but you've been out here a while.
You can call it Reverend Barber. I'm just fine with that. Reverend Barber, Reverend Liz, thank you for being out there and calling attention to this madness and mayhem and misery. And I guess one thing I would say, if McConnell's going to quibble over $600, if he thinks $600 in unemployment is going to make people stay home, then we have been underpaying people way too much for way too long. People haven't made enough to start with for way too long. We know it's a ruse, but even as a ruse, his line on that is just full of holes, because we don't pay people enough and to start with, and just putting more money in the pockets of the rich. He's trying the hypocrisy just makes you want to throw up, and how to call ourselves a democracy, and then the way he sets on legislation and how they go about bragging about voter suppression like it's a tactic, and they're just discussing the time of day. So we're fighting back in Kentucky from people in West Louisville, which is predominantly African American, and people in the coal fields, which is predominantly white. People of color live everywhere, but predominantly those communities. We have more in common with each other and being left out. And so Tana will talk more about this, I'm sure, but from the holler to the hood, we're organizing in Kentucky, and McConnell is not good for Kentucky. He's not good for this country, and he does not care about people.
You can see that in public. Leslie, Jamie, are you on yet? I'm just double checking. Because Pam, somebody said, we were talking last week, and somebody sent me a note, and they said, but your tone is so strong. Can't you talk nicer? I want to ask you, are the people in the house, right, hurting, is that tone nice? I mean, should we have to say it nice? And if you say it nice, does he get any better? I mean, I think our tone is just telling the truth. If you're stepping on my foot, if you're hurting my children, if you're causing me to have to face death because you won't do the right thing, I should be loud. There's nothing wrong being loud. What's wrong is being loud and wrong. But when you're loud and right, but what do you say about the tone? What's the tone of folk who are hurting in Kentucky? Are they cool? Are they all right? Or are they upset?
They're upset, and we're upset about being, like he cares more about buildings. His budget will take care of buildings, but his budget doesn't take care of people. And people are fired up, and people care about each other, and people are taking care of each other as best we can. But we need these systems to change. It's our responsibility to take care of each other, and these systems are hurting way too many people. And it's wrong to put this kind of say, be nice. Well, violence in when you let somebody die for lack of health care, or you let somebody die because they're hungry or they can't afford their medicine, they don't have a home because they can't, that's violence, that's evil.
That's right. Well, I have to tell, love does not mean you're passive. In fact, real true love, if you truly love somebody, you'll be emotional about it. You get all moved by it. And if you see somebody that's in trouble that you love, you will come to them. I remember my mother when I was young, and one day I was almost about to walk in the street in front of a car. She loved me. She didn't say, now, Billy, will you please not go in the street? She said, boy, stop! And I appreciate my mama for doing that, because out of deep love, the way she said it caused me to stop in my tracks. Otherwise, I probably would have walked right in front of that car and been killed. And in a real sense, it's because we love America that, like the prophets, we say, whoa, stop. This makes no sense. This is wrong. This is unjust. This is mean. This is miserable. It doesn't have to be this way. Our voices, our mind, the tone of our movement is because of the depth of our love and the depth of our commitment to truth and justice. Well, I don't hear right now, Brother Jamie is coming back on. We'll try to get him back before the end of the program. But Leslie, I want to come straight to Georgia before I go to Sister Weingarten. Leslie, first of all, you know, I'm just sitting here, my sister, and praying with you, and
It sounds like
you're
unmuted.
I'm just thinking about raising grandchildren, and then you got this pre-K daughter who has leukemia, and I know the battle. I've been through that battle with members of my church. And first of all, our prayers go out to you. But sister, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people home. And they have the power to call the McConnell and say, at least do right, you know, in this bill, and make sure, and stop hurting people, and stop making it so these schools have to reopen wrongfully. First of all, he should be speaking out against school reopenings. And then if the schools are going to be reopened, he should be the first one making sure that the money is there to retrofit the schools and fix things so that teachers and students are protected. But Leslie, speak your truth and tell why you're on this call and why you're saying to folks to join this sit-in, this call-in to McConnell. I think you're on mute, Leslie. We'll give you time.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
You can?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you well.
Okay.
We can hear you well.
Great, thank you. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for the invite to speak from you to you, Reverend Barber, and from Danielle. And I just want to say that my 3 grandchildren will not be attending school this fall in Atlanta Public Schools. Like I said, I have one granddaughter. She's in remission now, thank God. But yes, her mother has decided to leave her home for this year, and the other 2 will be virtual online. So, you know, that wasn't even something we had to pander over. You know, that was a decision that was made from the new superintendent and from Miss Bottoms, Mayor Bottoms. So, you know, I'm just thankful for, you know, the opportunity for them to probably get measures in place to reopen schools, but I knew it won't be anytime soon. You know, measures from what I'm looking at online with the Atlanta Public Schools, there's nothing in place for children with underlying health conditions as my granddaughter has. So, you know, until that, you know, they figure out, you know, how to keep and open schools safely, then they will be at home, you know, for the time being.
And you made that decision in help with the superintendent, the mayor. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Trump and McConnell ought to be saying the same thing with superintendent and the mayor rather than trying to force people? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of going against our mayor, they should, you know, come together and, you know, make a decision and keep these schools closed until this COVID thing is, you know, done with, because it's very, very unhealthy to open schools, and, you know, they don't have measures in place. Like, say they have hand sanitizer, and they're doing everything to sanitize, you know, the whole building, but that's still not enough. You know, just like the school in Paulding County here, where you have 9 students that were diagnosed with COVID after reopening from last week. And, you know, we can't take that chance. Parents, we just cannot.
And as a parent, you're a parent and a grandparent.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you a question. I haven't asked you this before, because there are some people that are trying to pit the parents against the teachers. When the teachers say they're going to protest, they're not going back because the schools are not safe. And the teachers are saying, we would go back, but we want the schools to be safe for us and for our children. Are you a parent standing with the teachers?
I'm standing with the teachers.
Okay. Y'all hear that in America? Don't believe that mess when they're trying to put the parents against the teachers. That's not really what's going on. And the fact of the matter is, you know, if Trump and McConnell had really focused when this thing started in March and used the summer to provide the money and the resources and the retrofit, we might be able to go back.
Absolutely.
But instead, Trump spent the summer denying, and McConnell spent the summer lying, and now we're in a mess. You know, denying and lying. Denying Trump said it wasn't real. McConnell lying and saying we don't really need $600. We don't really need the money. We don't really need that. What we need is to protect corporations from liability. And because of that, we're in the mess we're in now. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for coming on all the way from Georgia. Give your love to your grandchildren, to that daughter who's in remission. We thank God, and we thank God for that healing in her life. And look, stand strong. You and the other parents down there, because I heard in Georgia, you all know how to stand up for what's right. That's what I heard.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do.
Did I hear right? Okay.
We do.
So this if you don't know, now you know.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. Yeah, what's happening, Rob? Tell me what's going on.
We got Jamie here.
Jamie, my man. You ready, Jamie?
Yep, go ahead,
Look,
Jamie.
I need to know, Jamie, if McConnell is good for the nation or bad. Talk to us.
Yeah, like I said, he turned his back on us, man. I had to fight for my unemployment. You know what I'm saying? I've been fighting since March. You know, they give us a stimulus check down here. They said they took my stimulus check for child support because I'm behind in that. I got a whole lot of other things. We can't even get the housing for the people down here. We hurting for real. You know, I've been fighting for my unemployment since March. Every time I call, I never spoke to a human. They call me on Sundays only.
My God. Now, you're from Kentucky, and you got behind on one thing because the job closed down and they haven't provided what's needed to protect the job, and then they took the stimulus, and you say you've been fighting for unemployment since March, and you're from Kentucky, and he's turned his back on you. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I'm from Kentucky.
That's right. Now,